Welcome to the Ruden Report podcast. I'm Dave Ruden, and it's Black Friday as we tape this, a day after a very busy day of Thanksgiving games, a lot of good rivalries, a few surprises, and we have the pairing set, and everything broke exactly right, Sean Ireland, for the FCIAC in terms of we didn't think all 7 teams were going to get in, but after putting everything in the blender, mixing it up, indeed, almost half the FCIAC is playing in the state playoffs. How you doing?
I'm doing great. For not to get into it because we said we'll talk, in the future show. But for the people that want to get rid of Thanksgiving football, you need to get your head checked because it's the best day of the year. But yeah, great for the FCIAC St. Joe's. Everything they needed to happen happened. They pulled off a nice win with a blocked field goal, returned for a touchdown. That got them into the state playoffs. Now, who they're playing is tough, but again, we'll talk about that later. But the FCIAC is very well represented this year in the playoffs.
Yeah, we just got this just before we started taping here, and we don't have to spend too much on it. It seems like the school's got a lot of teams in, and if you play FCIAC football, chances are you got some sort of All-FCIAC mention. I see the All-FCIAC team was released, and just 43 players are on the first team. And every team is represented. So every team's got one of the top 20 or something, 25. I don't want to spend too much time about it, but it's kind of like it's way too big. I don't know anyway. It almost does a disservice to the people who really deserve to be there because it gets watered down. You have all FCIAC players and you have really good players, and I know it's hard to break ties. I try to do it with my own team and it gets really difficult, and I have a hard time getting it even under 30, but 43, you got to admit, it's a little too many.
Yeah, that's a big number. That's a big number. And I'm sure, all, if not most of them are very well deserving, but there does got to come a point where, you said it, it's a little watered down. And that would be my 2 cents on that.
Yeah, I mean, you can look over here and you can tell who belongs and who's borderline, and there are a lot of people who don't belong. And I know every coach you've been inside the rooms and I've only heard the stories, but it gets to be a big battle. And I think too many times the coaches, rather than fight, just decide, well, let's make everybody happy inside the room, and that's how it goes. But we're gonna, I just had to bring that up because I like saying my piece on that. But
yeah, I didn't even know it was out yet, so that was
and we've mentioned this before. The one choice I don't think anybody can argue with. Congratulations to Stamford's Donnie Patapata on being named FCIAC Coach of the Year after getting Stamford into the state playoffs in just his second year and just for the second time in school history.
Yeah, there's so many deserving coaches, you know what I mean? But and this is not a knock on any coach at all in the league, but this year that's a no-brainer. I wouldn't be shocked if that wasn't unanimous. What Donnie's done this year, with a program, that's usually not as competitive as, and telling you they're going to be like this for a while now. And all the credit to Donnie and the staff, very, very well deserving.
There have been a lot of football players, good caliber football players that have been walking the hallways at Stamford that haven't gotten on the football field, and Donnie's going to get him out there. He's already has, and to do this in just his second year, this would have been a big deal in his third or fourth year.
Yeah.
So, congratulations to Donnie and Stamford, and we'll see how long your stay is going to be in the state tournament through no fault of your own, but. Why don't first of all let's because I don't know that everybody saw all the scores from yesterday, just because we always focus on playoff teams. But first a shout out to Ridgefield beating Danbury and getting a second win on what's been a very frustrating season to them. Congratulations to Brian McMahon on a 500 finish. I know they wanted to finish a little higher than that, but at least they got the 500 at the expense of of your Norwalk Bears on the
Yeah.
last game played on Tusta Field.
Yeah, Dave, just give me 2 seconds on that. It was one of the bigger. It was one of the bigger crowds I've seen at the Norwalk McMahon game. I don't know if it was because of the weather or the last game, but the place was packed. Like at one point, it was just before halftime. I'm looking around, and it was just like you couldn't move. Ton of former players came out. It was a little somber, because that's been my home for 20 something years. There's going to be a field there in the future, but not that one, and I love that venue. But it was a great day in Norwalk, the city of Norwalk.
Hey, it's much with a crowd like that, it's probably hard to tell, is it Columbus Day or is it
Yeah,
Thanksgiving?
yeah, exactly.
Shout out to Fairfield Ludlow in 7-3 this year. So they didn't get in the playoffs, and you know what? When you get 7 wins at Ludlow, that's a big deal. And when you beat Fairfield Ward on Thanksgiving, that's a big deal. So
Yep.
Congratulations to them. And unfortunately, Bridgeport Central lost to Harding's going to have to wait another year to get a W, but hopefully that comes early next year. And then in games that impacted and impacted greatly in several occasions, the FCIAC seedings and the playoffs. In Class L, we had a couple of the biggest game was Staples beating Greenwich. Had the lead good part of the second half, went up 24-7 and won 24-13. I, like most people, thought Greenwich was going to win. I don't know that everybody felt this way. I'm not surprised that Staples won. I don't consider that a seismic upset by any stretch of the imagination. I was at New Canaan yesterday, and somebody asked me about that and who the top teams are. And I said, right now it's Greenwich, Staples, and New Canaan. I said, if you played a round robin with those teams, maybe one team would win 6 or 7 times. There's not a great deal of difference between those 3 schools right now, I don't think. And they have different strengths.
Yeah, that is true. I thought, and Dave, don't sleep on Wilton. I will put Wilton in that top 4.
I'm putting Wilton 4. I'm putting Wilton 4.
Yeah. I was not shocked at the outcome. I thought if Staples did win, my dog just entered the room. Sorry, guys. That's why the door opened. If Staples did win, I thought it was going to be like a 1-score game, whoever had the ball last. Not that it was convincing, but I just thought it would be a tighter game. But I agree with you. Staples, Greenwich, New Canaan, and again, me personally, I throw Wilton in there. I think those 4 are the top. They're all physical. They're all well coached. They're just 4 great, very, very good teams.
Yeah, I mean, Wilton's got to be 4. They lost to 2 of them, but they also lost to both of them by only 7 points.
Correct. Yeah,
I put them 4th in the very top of the second tier, not far behind the bottom of there is no real bottom of the first tier, but and when we get to the pairings, that game in my mind had much greater significance. Well, it sort of goes along with, in terms of Staples getting bumped up to number 1, but they got a much bigger benefit out of that game. The other L win, Stamford, as expected, 35-6 over West Hill. And for the first time since 1995, the equipment has not been put away, and Boyle Stadium will still have practices going there for at least a week.
Yeah, and I don't think I'm happy for any other team in the league. I'm happiest for Stamford. It's just such a great feeling. It's just good job by the Black Knights. They were a superior opponent, but they put the game away early. They left no doubt. I believe it was 14-0 early in the game, and then it was a good showing by Stamford.
Then the game I was at yesterday, and I got a reprieve. I thought I was going to miss my first Thanksgiving Day football in 30 years, and my first turkey ball in probably over.
You made it?
I was there.
Nice.
The only time I will not rail about health insurance in this country, But I found out Tuesday morning I was supposed to have the procedure Wednesday, and the insurance hasn't approved it yet.
Okay.
Oh, you know, unfortunately, my back was killing me after the game.
Yeah.
The good thing was I was there. So,
Yeah.
and you know what? It's just fun it's social for me too, because I know a lot of people in New Canaan and
Mhm.
Darien. So, it's you know who was on the sideline at Darien yesterday? Rob Trafone.
Yeah. I actually I saw that tweet.
I put
Yeah.
that he's teaching in South Carolina.
Yeah, I knew that. I knew he was down there.
I didn't know. Everybody thought he was still teaching at Stanford, and I said, "Is the door shut on coaching?" He said, "No."
Yeah,
And he's weighing whether he's going to come back here or whether he wants to stay down there.
yeah.
But it was interesting running into him on the sideline. But first Turkey Bowl in a while where the outcome was almost pretty much decided in the first 4 minutes. Opening kickoff, Alex Benevento takes it 88 yards for a score, and I was on the New Canaan sideline for the first quarter, and I had a perfect view where I was standing. I saw this hole is. He had two ways he could go, and I'm looking. I go, if he starts running towards me, he's gone. And he chose. He saw the opening, and it was a pretty big opening. I might have had a chance to at least get to midfield with that
Yeah.
opening.
With your
And then
back.
first play from scrimmage, Alex Russi, who's their backup quarterback, but who they use as a receiver and running back at times. He goes 80 yards for a touchdown. So the first two times New Canaan touches the ball, they're up 14-0, and then there's still a little over 8 minutes to go. And New Canaan never recovered from that. Darien never recovered from that. New Canaan built the lead up to 28-3, and it would have been 35-3. Alex Benevento, who scored 3 touchdowns, almost had a fourth via interception return. He had an interception return nullified, and not only that, he was most of the day on Kevin Roach, the Darien tight end. And Kevin Roach had 5 catches for 56 yards. I think any coach will be happy if you say I can hold him to 5 catches for 56 yards. That's a good day for most receivers, but as dangerous as Roach can be, that's a pretty good day. And then, Darien got 2 touchdowns late and made the game look a little bit closer than it really was.
Yeah, I mean, I thought going in that Darien is a little outmatched this year. They're young. They will be back. Not that they're not there. I hate saying they'll be back, but they're not the Darien of years past. I could tell you that. And New Canaan is very good. So I was not shocked at the outcome at all. I actually thought New Canaan was going to win pretty handily. But Darien still in it.
I thought they were like a 6-4 team pretty much at the beginning of the year once I saw them, and they were 7-3, and one of the wins was via forfeits. So
yeah,
I'll tell you. Well, besides the fact, we'll see what Darien does in the state playoffs when we get to them. If I'm Darien, the one thing that I come away with is Ben Rolap really. I thought. And maybe he's looked better in games that I haven't been to, but of the 3 or 4 games I've covered, I thought it was the best game I saw him play. He's really poised. He was going through his progressions. He first option wasn't there. He was going to his second look, his third look, which was a good sign. And he's got a really good arm. Sometimes I'm outside of things. All I kept hearing last year was Ben Rolap, Ben Rolap, Ben Rolap. And so, he's I think he didn't have a bad year. He's a sophomore. I think people expected more, but I think people expected more from inside Darien because he was hyped up so much, and that's not his fault. He's had what you would expect from a sophomore quarterback. He's had good moments and he struggled some, but he's got a really good arm. I'm telling you, hopefully you got Darien this year. I don't know what they're going to have around him. but you're going to have a more experienced Ben Rolap throw to Kevin Roach and Charlie Tom next year. That's going to be Darian's going to be putting points up on the board next year if they have a good offensive line.
Yeah, it's out of, I would say, any position in any sport, the toughest is quarterback in football. And, you could be very good, but if you don't have that varsity experience, the game speed that, going against another team's number one defense thing, you can't match it in practice, and he's good already, but he's going to be very good, and get this experience under his belt, in the next 2 years. Yeah, Darian, they're going to be very good.
Yeah, like I said, he's had a good year. He's had a good year. I think people inside of Darien, the ones who are overhyping him, have to chill just a bit and not put unrealistic expectations on a kid. That's really a hard thing to do, and it's unfair to the player. But yeah, it's the way sports is sometimes.
Yeah, and when it's
Drew Pine was hyped up. Drew Pine was hyped up even more so. And he hadn't even stepped on the field for New Canaan as a freshman.
Yeah, and you said it, Dave. It's not fair to the kids too, because when you are inserted into that position in a program like Darien, you are expected to be the best. Like it's not fair, it's not fair to the kid. And from what I hear, he took everything great this year, and he's just going to get better and better. But it's a tough role to be put in on any team, let alone a program like a Darien, New Canaan, Greenwich, one of the big boys in the league.
Yeah, I mean, Darien hasn't been at the same level the last 2 years that it's usually at, and that's a town that, if you don't win a state championship, it wasn't a good year.
Yeah.
Like I said, he's going to be fine. Lou Marinelli was talking about him after the game, and Roach and Tom. So I think anybody that saw those guys this year knows. We're lucky we saw them this year on, when they're just getting their experience. Hopefully we don't play them next year, because 2 years from now, Rolap's going to be scary good. He's just going to be very, very, very good next year. And he's, going to have Roach and Tom to throw the ball to. That off the top of my head, well, that could be the best passing combination in the league. But and New Canaan's defense is just really, really good. New Canaan's defense and Benevento is really, really good. He's somebody that I didn't even look. He must be on the All-FCIAC team. He's one of the 43 that really, really, really should be there. He does everything for them. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. Wilton Double M was off, but everything broke well for them in terms of their seeding. And then the team that needed to win and needed help got
it all.
Both. And St. Joseph held off Trumbull 10-7, a defensive battle, and St. Joseph, which looked not too long ago like it was not going to get back to the state playoffs, and it's always there. The Cadets are going playoffing.
Yeah, they are. And again, if Stamford didn't have the year they had this year, I think the coach of the year, is Joe. Like what he's done this year, with the team that he's had, the injury at the, they're in the playoffs every single year. Every single year they're in the playoffs. They have a very tough matchup. They know each other. They played in the past, but I'm anxious to see how this one turns out.
This was, we're making fun of 43. This was a really good year for coaching in the FCIAC. There's not a bad year, but there's people listening to this right now saying, "What about EJ D'Annunzio?"
Oh yeah,
you're right. I can't argue that. What about Adam Behrens at Staples? You're right.
Yeah.
I can. What about Mitch Ross? Yeah, they didn't go to the state playoffs, but this has been, and let's not discount what Lou does at New Canaan and Tony does at Greenwich. Just because you're doing it every year doesn't mean you're doing. You can't take it for granted. So this this was a really, really good year for coaching, though. I think
Yeah,
when
yeah,
you're talking about you could have named, and I think Donnie was the right choice, but you could have named EJ, you could have named Adam, and any of those people, and Joe, and I don't think anybody could like really say that's wrong in making a strong stance against it.
yeah, yeah. I agree. I agree. Any of those guys, I just think this year alone, Donnie deserved it more. But you are right. Any of those guys are very well deserving. EJ, you look at what he did the second half of the year, the schedule he had, and he just stacked win on top of win the last half of the year.
All they had to do was win every game to get in the
Yeah,
playoffs, and,
and he
and
did.
do it against good teams, and they
Yeah.
did.
Dave, I think we were talking, it was like week 5, week 6. We said the toughest part for Wilton is going to make the playoffs. Well, they steamroll right through everybody since since the New Canaan game. Whatever
Yeah,
we did, they steamrolled everybody.
and,
Um,
and beat Shelton in a non-league game, and uh, I I wrote a very sarcastic headline to a story about the state playoffs. It was something like, big rivals, big showdowns. It must be Columbus Day.
yeah,
I got an email from one of the people on the alliance who I mentioned, and basically he said I was making my argument for him. And part of that was that I said that Wilton sort of benefits from getting a rest here, but Wilton would, if you change the playoffs, Wilton would be getting a rest, anyhow. So,
right.
and again, we'll save this. I'm working on something special. I'll tell you about after we're done too.
Okay.
In terms of how to present this to the public, but as we see with 48 teams, too many.
Yeah, way too many. Way too many. In such a small state, way too many.
Yep. So why don't we go down the four? We have 7 teams in 4 different classes, and fortunately only 2 playing each other. And one of those is in double L. First up, Staples finishes as the top seed, and they get the only under 500 team in the field in Fairfield Prep, which also did play, in fairness, by far and away, along Ridgefield was probably up there with them, the most difficult schedule, but still 4 and 6. So that kind of tells you, the state of double L. And the bigger prize to me for Staples winning, and as it turned out, finishing first, is Greenwich is second and West Haven is third, which means Staples wouldn't have to see either team until the championship.
Right.
And I think everybody will be surprised if Staples isn't playing for the state title on December 10th.
Yeah, it's one of the ones, Dave, that I know Fairfield Prep is 4 and 6, but man, I don't want to see Fairfield Prep in the first round.
And
they've
and that's a rematch from last year. Prep beat them.
Right.
Staples missed a field goal last played last year.
Yeah. I think Staples is legit. I think they will win, but I think if you hooked up a lie detector to anybody's Staples, like, man, I wish we could have played anybody, any of the bottom 5 in the bracket, but besides them. But hey, it is who it is. You got to play. I'm pretty sure they'll come out on top. I think Staples has the best team in double L with the best player. And if you have the best player, he's gonna take it as far as he could possibly go.
Yeah, I saw Fairfield Prep actually in week 3 when they lost to Darien, and if you told me they were going to get in the state playoffs, I would have made a big bet and lost a lot of money. But they're picked the right year to be under 500 in double L.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're going to be scared of it, you're going to be worried in the playoffs. But if there probably isn't going to be a much scarier team under 500 than Fairfield. The Fairfield Prep team, which has gotten hot. That's probably the best way to put it. And Staples has, in my eye, the best player in the state, certainly the MVP of the FCIAC, and Caleb Smith at quarterback, who just keeps putting up insane numbers, both running and passing. So Staples is just a close loss to opening night to West Haven, and they've run the table since, and they've got a lot of quality wins, and they beat Greenwich again. So hats off to the Wreckers, and we'll see what they do. If they win, they will play the winner of Manchester Southington is the 4-5 game, and then we all hate repeat. We hate the teams from the same league playing each other. Hate it even more when they've already played each other this year. And we have a rematch of in the 2-7 game of Greenwich and Stamford. Stamford's Reward is playing a really, really, really pissed off Greenwich team. Some people thought the first game was close, and some people thought Greenwich might have been looking ahead or not taking them seriously. I don't subscribe to, certainly don't subscribe to the that they were looking past Stamford, but that's sort of a difficult that's a difficult matchup for them. It would have been nice to see how they fare, and let's say I'm Stanford's done some pretty incredible things here, but let's not look past them here. But I would have liked to seen them against a New Britain, the Manchester, Southington, even West Haven.
Even West Haven, yeah. Put it like put them against anybody that's not in the FCIAC, and like I said last week, even if you're, if West Haven was playing Fairfield Prep round, no, switch that up. The teams in the same league, at least in the first round. After the first round, you can't do anything about it. But it is what it is, is what it is. I guarantee you Greenwich is not looking past Stamford this week, anyway.
Greenwich isn't looking past anybody right now.
Yeah, right.
Greenwich is right now saying we want Staples again. And before and then they're taking that, okay, we compartmentalize that. We're looking at Stamford. If we don't beat them, we don't get Staples.
Right.
We win and we play West Haven or New Britain. If we don't win, we don't get Staples.
Right.
And then that would be the one time I don't mind a rematch. Staples Greenwich.
Yeah, that'd be nice. That'd be nice.
That'd be a rematch I can digest very well.
Yeah. I think Stanford's gonna have a tough test on when they play Greenwich. But I do think they have somebody who could score at any time, and the ball is in his hands every single play. I think Caleb Smith is the best player in the league. I think Stanford's quarterback is the most electric player in the league.
EJ's Presley's was certainly.
Yeah.
He's.
Yeah. So whenever you have him, there's a chance at all times. With that being said, I just think Greenwich is just going to come into this game. I think it's going to be close in the beginning, and I think Greenwich is just going to slowly pull away. What I just want a tight game. I want a one-score game going into the fourth quarter. We all want to
see Stanford be competitive.
Yes, absolutely.
We get enough blowouts. In the first round. Let's bounce around here as we wind down Class L. New Canaan and Darien cannot play each other until the championship round. So can both get there. New Canaan is the second seed, and they have Killingly at number 7. And then if they get by that, if form holds, and this would be an unbelievable semifinal, would be we could be looking at New Canaan and Maloney. And Maloney almost had Greenwich there until field goal in the last play of the game.
Yeah.
So, that side of the bracket, Killingly always has a strong team. I don't see teams outside the FCIAC really, so hard for me I think it's hard for us to analyze, but a New Canaan Maloney semifinal would be a great game.
Yeah, you got to win your first round first. Don't look ahead. But I think it's going to be one of the ones, Dave, just like we talked about with the girls' soccer, Staples, St. Joe's in the semifinals. That game should be the finals. That game should be the finals. you know, I know Naugatuck's undefeated. I know they're the 1 seed. You know, they beat Ansonia, who's
Yeah,
historically a
that was
great
the
team.
quality. Yeah, that was the
Yeah.
quality. A lot of people didn't expect that yesterday.
Yeah,
So
historically, that's a great team. But you know, besides Naugatuck and Ansonia, who else are you playing? You know, who
I
else are
mean,
you
you got a
playing?
bunch of good teams. Newtown. If you get Newtown, Lou gets his old offensive coordinator
Yeah,
to go against. But Darien, it's a tough. We'll see the strength of the FCIAC in terms of how Darien does against the 1 seed.
exactly. Even
But
even if Darien loses, you know, like we will see how good they are based on how Darien does in that game.
you know what? Ben Rolap gets to play in a state playoff game. Charlie Tom gets to play in a state playoff game. Kevin Roach gets to play in a state playoff game. So if they do it again next year, they'll be there. And all the seniors on that team who missed out last year, they get to play in a state playoff
Yeah,
game. So, it was nice yesterday knowing that Darien was still going to get in even with a loss. They've had a tough time against teams with winning records. Hey, you know what? Let's see what they do.
yeah,
What they
yep,
do, because the offense did move the ball until drive stalled. Uh, Double M, Wilton's in a really tough class there. They get Platt at home in the first round, and then they could be looking at the Massac Cheshire winner in round 2.
yeah, yeah. That's a tough setup right there. You know, but again, I would put I think L and M are the two strongest classes this year in the state playoffs. You know, Wilton's playing. I would put Wilton up with anybody. That's just me, Dave. I think they have a shot against anybody.
I want to see them keep winning because I want to
Yeah,
see them play these games. Windsor's number 1. I saw them against New Canaan during the regular season, a really good team. And I would not be surprised if the 5th seed won this all, and that's North Haven.
yeah,
North Haven's is a dangerous team, and their seed was hurt some by the forfeit. So we'll get a chance to see there. But yeah, I agree. I'm intrigued by Wilton, how they match up against these teams. Hey,
yeah.
they didn't win, but they played Staples and New Canaan to close to equal terms.
Absolutely.
And then we get to Class M and St. Joseph. This was the state championship game I covered a couple of years ago when they were 1-2 in
One
the
and two. Yeah,
1-2 in the state. Right now they're 1-8 in Class M, and St. Joseph's playing hand, and that's gonna be a tough game for the cadets who you know what? I have not seen them in a few weeks, so I don't know. I don't know. You look at the scores, and it still looks like a team that's been riding their defense for the most part, and their defense has been really good. So let's see what
yeah,
Dalovecchia has in store for hand this time.
yeah. Joe will have him prepared. I can tell you that. You know, and then the scores have been a little lopsided when they play the bigger teams, but you have to score. But every single one of those games, they had the ball numerous times inside the 5-yard line and just couldn't get it across the goal line. Just get it across the goal line 1 or 2 times. You get the confidence up a little bit. The other team starts panicking a little bit. So, let's just see. Let's just see. Cross that goal line 1 or 2 times in the first half. And then let the panic sit in on the other side.
So that's how the playoffs look. That's how Thanksgiving played out. So we've got 24 games on Tuesday night with 6:30 starts, and then the semifinals are. And I'm not sure what day you're listening to this. Is either this coming or a week from Sunday, depending on when we get this thing published. And the hope here right now is that we're gonna do 2 podcasts for you. We'll do a podcast hopefully midweek after the semifinals, and then do another podcast after the semifinal game. So, Sean, it's been a great regular season. It was
Yeah.
great. Thanksgiving football is always the best, and now it's playoff time.
Yeah, let's go FCIAC. Good luck to everybody that's still playing. You know, represent the league, represent your school, and you know, even though you're playing, every team in the league is still rooting for you. And that's the truth. Everybody wants the FCIAC teams to move on.
Yep, the FCIAC coaches, it's a strong bond, and they want to see as many teams as possible, and yeah, it'll be fun. I got to sit down here now and figure out which game or two I can't cover, which I hate that. I hate that more than anything, especially because people see you're not at that game and they think you don't care, and they just don't realize you don't have the resources to.
Right.
I'm hoping we're going to cover 4 games. That's my goal.
Sounds good.
Anyhow, that's it for this post-Thanksgiving episode of the Ruden Report podcast. As always, I want to thank my co-host, Sean Ireland. I want to thank Cooper Boardman for the sound editing. Enjoy the playoffs, and we'll be back with a special podcast next week.